As you will have noted in the study guide, Topic 1 covers 3 key points. This short video presentation covers the first point, defining key concepts and terminology. Like many professions, teaching has a plethora of context-specific words and acronyms, and we'll be working through some of those in this presentation. In this unit, we will be referring to the Early Years Learning Framework, more commonly known as the EYLF, as the primary source of concepts, terminology and resources. As many of you will already know, the EYLF is Australia's first national curriculum framework for early years educators. This document provides guidelines for the education and care of children from birth to 5 years, and thus informs the work of educators, and it has a specific focus on play-based learning, which makes it particularly relevant to this unit. It provides the foundations for high-quality, consistent and rigorous teaching in the early years. So regardless of the Australian state or territory you choose to work in, you will be referring to this document when planning, teaching and assessing. And in conjunction with the National Quality Framework, it will provide you with the benchmarks of practice against which you will be measured. As such, it's essential that you graduate from this course with a comprehensive understanding of the principles, practices, language, concepts and expectations set out in this document. You'll do that by engaging in a range of units in your degree. The Unit Information Guide provides details of the specific accreditation codes and standards each of these units cover. In this unit, you'll find those on pages 3 and 4 of the unit guide. So let's begin this very important unit by unpacking some of these key terms and concepts and discussing how they're used in the unit content. The early years is a term used to describe the period of life between birth to 8 years. This term originates in a European tradition where the prior to school and school systems are arranged around this period of growth and development. In recent times, it has been used more widely in the literature internationally and within Australia, as is evidenced by the use of the term in the title of the framework. However, there remains some confusion around the way this term is applied at a national and state level in Australia. So for the purposes of this unit, and this term should be understood in its broadest context, that is, covering both the pre-compulsory and compulsory sectors. This becomes particularly important when considering the use of the term in specific Australian states such as Victoria, and when reading the literature written by European authors. Early childhood education and care, often shortened to the acronym ECEC, is the term widely used and accepted when referring specifically to the pre-compulsory sector or the prior to school sector. The early childhood settings encompassed in this period, from birth until the time the child starts school, comes under the jurisdiction of the Australian Children's Education and Care Quality Authority. In Australia, early childhood settings include all spaces and places registered and accredited to deliver education and care to children from birth to 5 or 8 years, depending on the state jurisdiction choosing to use the term. For example, in Queensland, Victoria and Canberra, the early years is a term that's used and applied in the school and early and prior to school settings. Play is a contested term and, as you will have noted in your reading so far for this topic, somewhat open to interpretation depending on the theoretical lens being applied. In this unit, we will be using the EYLF definition as a baseline to extend, test, confirm, contest, accept and reject ideas as you construct your own definition and understanding of that word, play. There are many different types of play, and again we'll be using the EYLF categories detailed in the Educator's Guide on page 30 as our baseline, although you should be aware as you read that there are many ways to describe play, and sometimes the same word is used to describe different things. More about these later. Pedagogy is a term that has not traditionally been applied in the Australian early years sector, although it's been in common use throughout Europe for centuries. Since 2009, it has been increasingly used and understood as the early childhood educator's professional practice, especially those aspects that involve building and nurturing relationships, curriculum decision-making, teaching and learning. In its plural form, the meaning of the term is broadened to include a range of practices intended to promote learning. This is an important distinction as it acknowledges and encourages educators to implement a variety of practices, and though not stated here, these practices should be founded in your deep understanding of early childhood theories. It is from this point that this unit's been revised and redeveloped to assist you to establish that deep understanding of the theory in order to inform and enliven your practice. You'll note that I've intentionally been referring to teachers in this presentation as educators. This is the term used in the EYLF to acknowledge all practitioners within a range of early childhood settings who may or may not have a teaching qualification. Play-based learning can extend children's thinking, stimulate a desire to explore and discover, challenge thinking to test ideas and develop new understandings. In a supportive, safe play environment, children can ask questions, solve problems, engage in critical thinking. In short, play provides a context for children to enjoy being. The role educators play in this learning is a topic of significant debate, and, again, throughout this unit, you'll be challenged to consider your personal standpoint or position on the role educators have in play-based learning. Finally, at the end of each presentation, you'll see a list of references used to inform the presentation or the narrative around the presentation. Please note that these model the APA 6 referencing style that you'll be required to use in your assessment tasks.